after this as well. There you go. Please also note that it will be possible to ask questions to all of the speakers today. However, we're running a really tight program, so in all probability, we're going to need to respond to those questions after the event. But please do pop them into the chat because we will attend to those. Just to note, you are in charge of your own view preferences. So if you move your mouse up to the panel on the right, you'll see there's a variety of options that you can choose, including gallery view, etc. And you should pick the one that suits your interests the most. And then I think very importantly, just to say that the core content of today's webinar, the market intelligence reports, are freely available online. And you can access those by visiting the Green Cape website at www.greencape.co.za and then navigating to the market intelligence section. As I say, they are freely available for download. Whilst I wait for the last few participants to join, perhaps I can just make a word about what this is really about. For those of you who are not familiar with Green Cape, I'd like to let you know that we're not just a green fluffy organization. And in fact, a lot of what we do is around making real business opportunities or business sense within the green space. That said, I think it would be remiss of me not to use this platform to make a joke or two. So I'm going to start with that. It's what calms me, and I think it will settle us all into this. So I think the first joke is just to mention is to ask, how does a Prius driver drive? And the answer is with one hand on the wheel and the other one patting themselves on the back. All right, I think we've got nearly 100 participants, which is close to what we were expecting. So I'm just going to move to the program here. As I mentioned, we've got quite a tight program to run through. So we'll start with a welcome from our own CSO, Bruce Raw. It's a slightly fancier version of what I've done. We'll then welcome Minister David Mania. We're delighted to have him on this call. The Minister will be giving a brief talk on building a green resilient future in the Western Cape. Green Cape's Dr. Lauren Besson will then give us an introduction into the market intelligence reports and their intention and purpose. And then we'll dive directly into them, starting with the energy and electric mobility sectors, where we'll be joined by our energy program manager, Jack Radmore, along with the authors of the various reports, Argun Puran, Wilberforce Chege, and Mandisa Mkhize. We'll then move into the water and sustainable agriculture sectors. We will be joined by the program manager, Claire Pengeli, as well as the authors, Ashton and Porfu and Tukelo Shai. And then finally, we'll go into circular economy and biogas sectors, where we'll be joined by program manager Salim Haider and the authors, Sam Smelt and Yassine Sali. Then we'll be joined by Lisa Johansson, the Green Economy Investment and Finance Liaison Officer. And we'll end the session with a closing from the Green Cape CEO, Mike Mulcahy. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Bruce to give us a welcome. Bruce, over to you. Cheers.
Good morning and welcome everybody to the launch of Green Cape's Market Intelligence Reports for 2021. So these reports are a flagship product of Green Cape's and a result of long-term collaboration and partnership. This partnership has proven to be an award-winning approach, and the dividends of such an approach has been self-evident. Insights from these reports aside, we've also seen responses to the drought that have been created through this type of partnership, through joint up thinking, having a leading response to the drought, as well as municipalities within the Western Cape having leading response to energy resilience, with the city of Cape Town being ahead of the curve on load shedding, the rest of the Western Cape municipalities also being well ahead of the curve in terms of allowing small-scale embedded generation onto their networks. And we see this as the future, and Western Cape is leading in this resilient space. And I'd like you to welcome all of you today to join us as we explore some of the economic opportunities that we've seen unlocked within the green economy, and we will explore and discover those further. Thank you and enjoy your time with us here today.
Thanks, Bruce. Brief, but to the point. Thank you very, very much. All right. I'm now very excited to welcome and hand the floor over to Minister David Mania. The Minister will be speaking on building a green, resilient future in the Western Cape. Minister, over to you.
Nick, thank you very much for that welcome. I really would like to thank you and Green Cape for the opportunity this morning to make some brief remarks. And the key word there is brief remarks, because of course I'm conscious that I stand between the participants who are now, as you know, number over 100, and of course the main attraction, which is Green Cape's unpacking of the market intelligence reports. Let me start by welcoming all the participants and kicking off by saying that the demand I would suggest for a green and more resilient future, I think, has never been greater for the world, for the Western Cape, and of course for South Africa. And of course, key to building our green future, I think, is ensuring that there's an enabling environment that creates opportunities for investment and development in the green economy. And so I'm really delighted to be here today to join you for the unpacking of the market intelligence reports that have been produced by Green Cape. I think it's fair to say that these market intelligence reports, I really think, are world-class documents that are produced every year to highlight the great opportunities for investment in the green economy in the Western Cape. The reports, I think, are helpful guides for investors who would like to understand the opportunities available for specific green economy sectors such as energy and water and waste in the Western Cape. There are really great opportunities for investments in the sector, which of course will be unpacked during the main attraction by Green Cape. And of course, these include opportunities in energy services, in renewable energy, in water and electrical vehicles, and much more. If we step back, I think in the Western Cape, we know that if we work harder and smarter, we can unlock the tremendous value in the green economy. By removing barriers to economically viable green economy projects, we can stimulate private sector investment and resilience. And of course, with weekly load shedding fluctuating between stages 2, 3, and even 4 last week, there is, in our view, an urgent need to increase energy generation to meet the current shortfall, not just in the province, but of course across South Africa, which is of course why we were so pleased to hear that President Cyril Ramaphosa announced last week that Schedule 2 of the Electricity Regulation Act will be amended to increase the licensing threshold for embedded generation projects from 1 to 100 megawatts, which one journalist I saw referred to this morning as a sparkling moment of opportunity. Of course, to support the private sector to take advantage of the new energy regulations, we plan to hold a series of engagements with businesses to unpack the amendments to the regulations and the opportunities that have been created, and to support municipalities to take advantage of the new energy regulations to generate, procure, and sell their own power so that they can become more energy secure. We are moving forward with our Municipal Energy Resilience Project in the Western Cape. The Municipal Energy Resilience Project is really aimed at assisting municipalities to take advantage of the new regulations. And to achieve this, I have allocated over or close to 70 million Rand, which we plan to spend over the medium term on the Municipal Energy Resilience Project in the Western Cape. We've already announced the 6 candidate municipalities, which include Drakensberg, Mosselbaai, Overstrand, Saldanha Bay, Stellenbosch, and the Swartland municipality. And of course, we're collaborating closely with the City of Cape Town. The project will be rolled out in 3 phases. starting by identifying, of course, the candidate municipalities. And last week we issued a request for information, which of course is a critical step in this phase, as the information that will be submitted will help us to consider options and develop the strategic approach and roadmap to rolling out the projects. Phase 2 will focus on the implementation of pioneering projects, and phase 3, we will develop a plan for energy projects to be rolled out in all the candidate municipalities. Ultimately, we want a situation where all municipalities can guarantee a stable supply of electricity at competitive prices in the Western Cape. Also, of course, as the shareholder in the Atlanta Special Economic Zone, we have worked hard to support the establishment of this green tech export-orientated manufacturing hub, which will attract investment, I think, that leads to increased exports and local production in green technologies. The Atlantis SEZ has been in place for a year, with the most recent development being the purchase of land from the city of Cape Town in exchange for a minority shareholding, which is a critical step in the development of the SEZ. I think these are just a few examples of the innovative initiatives to build a green, resilient future in the Western Cape. And a great deal of these successes could never have been achieved without strong partnerships across government, municipalities, stakeholders, and of course, most importantly, the private sector in the Western Cape. And it's through those partnerships that we survived a 1 in 400 year drought. It's through those partnerships, I think, that we are working together to overcome a pandemic. And it's also through those partnerships that we will build, I think, a greener future in the Western Cape. I want to ensure all the participants that have joined us today that the Western Cape is open for business, and our green sector economy experts stand ready to assist you with your investments. And I certainly look forward to the unpacking of all the investment opportunities by Green Cape in a few moments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister Mania. Really appreciate your time. And I think I can't help but feel as though there are a multitude of sparkling moments of opportunity having listened to your address. But I'd just like to say thank you very much to you and to your team for your ongoing support of the work that we at Green Cape do. And we're delighted to have you on this call. We're going to now move on, and I'm going to invite Dr. Lauren Basson, Green Cape's Chief Knowledge Officer, to give an introduction to the market intelligence reports. Lauren, are you online?
Good morning, everyone. So a bit of context for why we do the market intelligence reports and what we try to achieve with them. Ultimately, it's about getting investment in green technologies. And over the last 10 years, Green Cape and the ecosystem of partners that we'll introduce have been responsible for attracting about 42 billion of investment in green technologies, and that has created over 19,000 jobs. And although there are a multitude of services, the market intelligence report is really the key tool that we use to provide information to investors and to assist them to understand the investment opportunities in the local market, and to provide some information to enable investors to access those opportunities. We issue these annually, so they're annual reports, and last year's 2020 version was downloaded more than 24,000 times. So it gives you some sense of the scale of readership of these market intelligence reports. And according to the statistics, that's really local and across the globe that there is interest in these market intelligence reports. So for those not familiar with them, they give an overview of the market, a sense of the shifts in the market over the last year and how they enable new opportunities, and then enough detail just to get a sense of what the opportunities are, what some key challenges might be, in order for investors to do some due diligence on these opportunities and just get a sense of, are these opportunities for them, and then what's required to access them. But behind those market intelligence reports sits a team that is ready to support. And that's the joined up team consisting of Invest Cape Town, Westgrow, Green Cape, and the Atlantis Special and Economic Zone. So if one ever wants more information about those opportunities, reach out to that team, who then work in a complementary manner to provide the necessary information and a multitude of other support services. These market intelligence reports are done by our sector desks, some of whom you'll meet this morning, but it's fundamentally enabled by the funding that we receive as Green Cape from the Department of Economic Development and Tourism of the Western Cape Government, the Enterprise and Investment Department of the City of Cape Town, and the Western Cape Government Department of Agriculture. So between those funders, they fund the full gamut of market intelligence reports that you'll see this morning. But this funding also enables Green Cape to become and give opportunities to access green tech opportunities globally. So Green Cape is the first African member of the International Clean Tech Network. That's a network of over 15,000 green tech companies in 14 continents. So through Green Cape, there's a possibility then to collaborate with green tech companies globally, to partner and to solve challenges. And most recently, the ICN has issued a challenge in New York to assist with green building retrofits. So there'll be an investment of about $5 million in 10 iconic New York buildings. And South African and global green tech companies can access those opportunities through participating in that challenge. So these market intelligence reports are almost an invitation from us to get a sense of those opportunities and to come and talk to our ecosystem of partners to really examine whether these investment opportunities are suitable for you as an investor, but then also to use it as a platform for accessing other local and global green tech markets and opportunities. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lauren. I think that gives a really nice context into the underlying content behind these reports. And I think just to say that this is really a collective, the collective work of a year's worth of data collection and writing up, etc. And they really are magnificent reports once published. Okay, we're going to now move on. And I think I'm going to invite our energy team to the floor. We heard a lot from Minister Mania, particularly around some of the exciting developments and opportunities within the energy landscape, including the President's recent announcement to the Schedule 2 amendments. But yes, I'm going to welcome Jack Radmore, the Energy Program Manager, as well as the authors of the 3 energy-themed MIRs we published to the floor, Wilberforce, Mandisa, and Argon. Gentlemen and lady, over to you.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Nick. And thank you so much to the Honourable Minister for the sort of setting the scene specifically with some of the amazing opportunities that have come out in the energy landscape in the Western Cape over the last couple of months and years. I really think this presents a very exciting investment opportunity, and we really are seeing increased appetite both locally from investors and internationally to push themselves into the different spaces within the renewable energy markets and the overall sort of energy market in terms of sustainable transports and demand side management as well. We're going to take a little bit of time just to run through the different opportunities Green Cape, with partnership from Western Cape Government, produces 3 energy market intelligence reports, being sustainable mobility, energy services, and utility scale renewable energy. But I think with load shedding being very much on the top of everybody's mind at the moment, I'm going to kick off with energy services. So maybe Argon, from your side, the Minister has alluded to some really exciting announcements that the President has made over the last couple of weeks, increasing the ability of the private sector to participate in the generation landscape. And at the same time, last week again, we headed back up to stage 4 load shedding. Where are you seeing the opportunities within the energy services landscape over the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
Thanks
for that, Jack. So the main opportunity at the moment is definitely within embedded generation, particularly in rooftop PV, where we're conservatively estimating 500 megawatts of annual installed capacity year-on-year growth. Also due to the sector reforms mentioned with the license cap increasing, as well as the incredibly dynamic and competitive nature of the PV space. There's a number of sub-trends that are relevant, such as solar power purchase agreements and wheeling that are going to be increasingly relevant in the years to come. Additionally, behind the meter battery storage has seen increased uptake due to the concerns around load shedding, as well as the flexibility of application use cases regarding lithium-ion batteries. And then lastly, within the energy efficiency space, there are a number of low-hanging fruits, such as cooling as a service and variable speed drives. And there's also significant potential for smart metering and demand-side technology management.
Great stuff. Thanks, Argan. And I think the Western Cape really represents an exciting opportunity for investment, given the fact that the large majority of municipalities are allowing grid feed-in from embedded generators, paying a feed-in tariff, and now also starting to explore the options of wheeling, with I think up to 4 or 5 local municipalities having wheeling regulations in place to actually drive that space forward. So that's great, and I really hope that this increase to the 100 megawatts license exemption allows us to just see the space absolutely expand, and we're seeing wheeling and trading becoming more of a reality. Now, just on the back of Nick's joke, maybe if we can shift gears and talk about mobility, over to Wilberforce. The automotive industry is a really important aspect in the South African GDP as a whole, and this industry is rapidly changing. Where do you see this sort of sustainable mobility sector heading over the next couple of years?
That's correct, Jack. Thanks. So South Africa's automotive manufacturing industry is a crucial sector for the economy, employing hundreds of thousands of people, both directly and indirectly throughout the entire ecosystem. And up to 2/3 of the vehicles produced locally are exported internationally to over 130 international destinations, as many of the major multinational original equipment manufacturers use South Africa to source components and assemble vehicles for both the domestic and the international markets. And what we are starting to see recently is that most of these vehicle export markets are announcing bans on future importation of internal combustion engine vehicles because of environmental and climate change concerns. Therefore, if we as South Africa do not begin to transition to producing electric vehicles, we could potentially lose these export markets and even our entire automotive industry that currently accounts for up to 6.5% of GDP. So the drive to adapt to the sustainable mobility and energy transition is driving the emergence of opportunities in this electric vehicle industry, more specifically opportunities in the electrification of public transport, because fleets account for about 40% of the energy use in the transport sector here in South Africa, but also in private vehicles and in underground mining applications as well. And with this comes the opportunity to also increase our capacity for clean energy generation, such as solar photovoltaic systems, and creating a local manufacturing industry for lithium-ion batteries, which would also boost the mining sector that plays a key role in our economy. And battery manufacturing also has the potential of creating thousands of additional jobs throughout the entire EV ecosystem and the batteries value chain, as it is very labor intensive.
Great stuff. Thanks, Wilberforce, for that insight. And I'm really glad to see some of our SEZ colleagues in attendance today, because if I was a betting man, I would say that local manufacturing of electric vehicles and lithium-ion batteries represents a really exciting opportunity for the SEZ, both for the export and local market eventually as well. Last but definitely not least, Mandisa, let's chat a little bit around the utility scale renewable energy industry. A lot of excitement in the market at the moment as the IPPs get ready for round 5 and hopefully the announcement of round 6 this year and round 7 early next year. Are you seeing this sort of opportunity space for utility scale renewable energy growing, and where do you see it going?
Thank you, Jack. So at the moment, the industry is occupied with bid window 5 that has an allocation of 2.6 gigawatts, and their bids are due for mid-May. But following that, we do have 2 more bids that are likely to come out then in August, and then one for next year. And the allocation for those bids, which is bid window 6, is allocated to 2.6 gigawatts of opportunity. That is likely to be released in August of 2021. And then for bid window 7, we do anticipate that it will be released to market by January next year with an allocation of 1.6 of gigawatt. And to that, then we kind of understand that there is increased local manufacturing of renewable components and systems. And again, as the market grows, it's becoming increasingly important to kind of rebuild those lost local value chains and capabilities that were kind of eroded during the procurement program delays. And I think COVID has been a great lesson to all of us in terms of understanding just the value of localization and industries for economic survival and resilience. In addition to that, just to plug on to the battery storage, we also do have a utility scale size battery storage market opportunity that is estimated to be around just over 500 megawatts as allocated within the integrated resource plan. That opportunity, the market can also kind of plan to start gearing up for that opportunity in August. So it looks like in my sector, a lot of excitement for August until next year. A lot of these projects are definitely going to likely come online from 2024 to 2025, but definitely a lot of interest and excitement in my sector. Thank you, Jack.
Great stuff, Mandisa. Thank you so much. And I think for the Western Cape specifically, again, a massive opportunity for local manufacturing, an opportunity to land some projects here, both wind and solar, and then obviously a setup and ease of doing business for the project developers that really see the Western Cape as home. So overall, some really great opportunities. I know we're running a little bit long here, but I have one more question for the team. If you had 100 million rand, right, and you were a betting individual, where in your sector would you invest? Maybe let's start with Wilberforce first, and then over to Argan and Mandisa to finish us off.
That's a good question, Jack. Well, I would invest it in the electrification of public transport, which we know in South Africa is the primary mode of transportation for the vast majority of commuters based on the last National Household Travel Survey. I think that is where we would get the biggest value for money and also from an efficiency standpoint.
Great, thanks. Wilberforce, same question for you, Argan.
And in energy services, I would say it's all about creating an enabling environment for the PV market to really take off. That would involve both municipal capacity building, but also increasing access to affordable finance for businesses.
Awesome, thank you. And Mandisa, last for you.
Thanks, Jack. I would definitely invest in battery storage. I think as the country, kind of struggles to have power and secured power, I think battery storage is relevant for the sector with all the new projects coming online. We are definitely looking to kind of have more excess power dispatched across the country. Thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you so much to the team. And just from my side, to the authors, thank you so much for your hard work. And please, attendees, do make it over to the Green Cape website to download these opportunities. And looking forward to engaging with some of the questions to explain more around the South African Renewable Energy Master Plan, etc. And yeah, thank you so much from our side. And Nick, back over to you.
Thanks, Jack, and thanks to your team. And I just want to echo your words. I think a huge congratulations to all 3 authors on 3 amazing reports. I love that last question. I can't help but feel slightly disappointed, Wilberforce, with your answer, only because I was immediately thinking about investing in a Formula One team. I've been watching the F1 documentary. I just have to use this opportunity to tell another joke because Jack validated my joke by recognizing it. And so, what did the environmentalist get for sitting on an iceberg too long? The answer, Polaroids. And I think on the theme of water, I'm now happy to hand over to the Water and Sustainable Agri Program Manager, Claire Pengeli, as well as the authors of the two reports, Ashton Pofu and Tukelo Shai. Claire, over to you.
Thank you very much, Nick. And yeah, really good morning to everyone. Really excited to be here to talk about the investment opportunities that we see in the water and sanitation space, as well as in the sustainable agriculture sector. And yeah, just also a big excitement from my team. Thank you so much for putting together all these documents. I think they're really well done. I'd like to first focus in on water. So I think, as many of us know, the water and sanitation sector in South Africa is mature, it's well established, it's got strong manufacturing capabilities. Globally, we ranked very highly in terms of our innovation capabilities as well as our outputs. We've seen in recent years there's been quite significant demand for increased water and sanitation investment due to the drive for water security as a result of the significant water crisis we had here in the Western Cape, as well as nationally. And I think that we've focused a lot in on those over the past few years. But 2021, it's a new year. There's obviously always a continued drive for looking for opportunities within the water and sanitation space. But I'd like to hand over to Ashton to ask him, what are the specific opportunities that you are seeing now in this MIR, and what do you kind of see happening in the next few years?
Thank you very much, Claire. Maybe to start off with, I'd like to re-echo your words that this year's market intelligence report does draw on the market trends and emerging longer-term investment opportunities that are there to improve water security, water resilience, and access to sanitation as key enablers of sustainable economic resilience and socio-economic development. And I think some of you might refer to that as building back better and looking into economic recovery. So we all know that the Western Cape will, of course, continue to suffer recurrent severe droughts conditions and longer-term water constraints. And some of the parts of our province are still not out of the woods yet as they continue to experience the drought. So some of the drivers, I think I should say that they start off at a very high level and they cut across down to municipal levels. As someone looks into the 2030 SDGs, the African Agenda, and our National Water and Sanitation Master Plan, and our provincial and municipal integrated development plans. And also we have increased project preparation support and also regulations, particularly referring to sub-metering and our imminent organic waste to landfill ban. So as we progressively build towards resilience, there's a need for us to increase our water efficiency by reducing our losses and consumption by using alternative sanitation systems. So the main three opportunities that we have identified for 2021, we're looking in reducing our non-revenue water losses at a municipal level, where we speak about smart metering, monitoring, and leak detection. And this will also allow us to improve on our billing systems. We're also looking to non-sewered sanitation systems, and we're looking to addressing a challenge of delivering sustainable sanitation services, particularly looking into the new property developments, our rural communities as well, and most importantly, our low income and informal sector. Also, there is an opportunity, to beneficiate our wastewater sludge into value-added products. And this is mainly driven by, our national waste strategy that aims to progressively limit our organic waste to landfills over the next 10 years. And the Western Cape is, of course, targeted, diverting 50% of organic waste to landfill by next year and 100% by 2027. So these are the main three opportunities that we have identified, and they mainly look at the space. Let me conclude, Claire, by saying that I think, as you said before, that the Western Cape water sector is ripe for investment. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Ashton. Now turning to agriculture. So I think just to notice, we've been talking about partnerships The Water and Sanitation Market Intelligence Report is funded by our Western Cape Department of Economic Development and Tourism, whereas our Agriculture Market Intelligence Report is funded by the Western Cape Department of Agriculture. So thank you very much for them. It's an extensive and long-term partnership that we've had with them, specifically focusing on the kind of green technologies and practices that can support the transition to sustainable agriculture. So I think just, making a quick note, as we probably are aware, the agriculture sector in South Africa is predominantly responsible for a lot of our local food production. Locally, because of our limited water resources in particular, we have a very efficient local farming community that are also able to take up innovative new practices. Those have obviously been driven by some of the kind of climatic shocks that we've seen in the past few years. And we also note that we've got a very strong commercial agriculture sector, but also one that is emerging more in nature. So those that are up and coming farmers, as well as those of your kind of smaller scale or subsistence farmers. So again, Tequila, we've published these MIRs, for a number of years. What are the key drivers and key opportunities that you're seeing coming through in the 2021 MIR that you'd like to focus on and really highlight as interesting investment trends?
Thank you very much, Claire. I think you've already touched on some of those already. So some of the opportunities that we highlighted in the 2021 Market Intelligence Report build on some of the opportunities we've previously looked at in the past MIRs, mainly because most of these are still quite relevant. And these include sustainable agriculture practices such as conservation and regenerative agriculture, undercover farming ranging from your low-tech to high-tech systems, and also smart farming technologies with a focus on remote sensing technologies. But what we've added to the 2021 Market Intelligence Reports are to look at those opportunities across the range of farming enterprises, as you've already alluded to look at the opportunities for smallholder and emerging farmers. So we've started to put in a closer look at organic agriculture. And also because the agriculture sector sits at the nexus of the water and the energy sectors, we took a closer look at energy opportunities in the agriculture space. And I think the energy team has already highlighted some of these opportunities, and they're more detailed in the energy MIRs. But just to highlight the few that we did include in the agri MIR, small scale embedded generation, distributed generation, energy storage, and also biogas applications. And the drivers to these opportunities are mainly ranging from your regulatory to economic and also environmental factors, right? And some of these include your rising input costs. You've already heard, the rising electricity prices in the country, and also the costs of fertilizer and fuel, and also climate change, which continues to exacerbate natural resource scarcity in the country. And also what we're seeing is, there's a lot of international market pressure, especially when you look at export farming in the country, where we see some regulations evolving around chemical fertilizer ban, and also with the upcoming EU Green Deal, we see that will potentially have impacts on the agriculture sector.
Thank you, Tequila. So yeah, a lot of movement happening, I think, in that space, being driven by these macro trends, largely. So I think just to close off, if I'd ask Ashton and Tequila also just the same question. What have you seen has been the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on your sector? Has there been any impact? Do you see this being sustained? If there has been, just give me maybe a 30-second response on that to let me know how you see COVID as impact, if at all. Ashton, if we can start with you and then over to Tequila.
Thank you very much. I was almost inclined to say, besides us getting sick and not going to work, but I think looking at my water sector, I'd like to say that it's just a re-emphasize, the utmost need for us to have universal access to water and sanitation. And also, of course, it comes off with some opportunities, that we have already tapped into using sanitizers in some of our, ablutions across the malls and across our business. So it came with an opportunity, but at the end of the day, I think it's just a re-emphasis on the need for universal access to water and sanitation. Thank you.
In the agriculture sector, especially primary agriculture production, the impacts of COVID have been fairly minimal. But when you look in the short term, there's been some impacts around accessing farming inputs and machinery. But I think the large one is around affordability of food, where we see that because COVID has had such a huge impact on livelihoods of a lot of South Africans, this has had impact on reduced spending power on food, which means certain demand for specific produce has reduced as a result. But however, the agriculture sector has performed fairly well in 2020, and we've seen a record high of about 6% in the fourth quarter, and in some articles being coined as the rising star of all sectors. So I think it's quite enlightening to see that the sector has done so well, considering some of the impacts that COVID has had on a lot of people in the country. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks to Kilo. Yeah, it has certainly been a key export earner and bright star in the kind of economic impacts of the crisis. So thanks. That's it for me. I'm going to hand back to Nick as we move on to the circular economy.
Thanks very much, Claire, and thanks to your team. I think a big shout out to you all. I know we've sort of forgotten a lot about the drought, but I think you all did immense work during that very challenging time. And so it's great to see the respective spaces where they are now. We're going to move on to the final MIR, the circular economy module. I do just want to say one final joke. Sorry, I mean, this is probably driving everyone mental, but I just can't resist the opportunity, and it is to topic or to theme. And it's really just about Tom Cruise's new film that's come out, and I recommend it to everyone. It's called Mission Compostable. And on that very lame joke, Salim, I'm going to hand over to you and your team with MIR authors Sam Smart and Yassine Sali. Over to you guys.
Thank you, Nick, and good morning to all. Yeah, just to maybe set the scene, the COVID pandemic and associated ones has had a huge negative impact on the waste and recycling sector. Companies have also come to realization that the linear economy is no longer viable and have to adapt to the circularity as an economic response plan. This is also well supported by national government, who has circular economy embedded in the updated National Waste Management Strategy, and they are using supporting policy instruments and legislation such as extended producer responsibility, as well as landfill bans of some products as good means to support this. And this can only create further opportunities for the private sector as solution providers to see how this could be effected. Today, I'm fortunate to have the author of the Waste MIR, Mr. Sam Smart, with me, as well as the biogas contributor, Mr. Yassine Sali, on the panel. And I'd like to hand over first to Sam, just to give us some brief insights as to what to expect from the Waste MIR, and then thereafter for Yassine to also give us some inputs as to what the biogas sector is like at present. Thanks, gentlemen.
Cool. Thanks, Salim. Hello, everyone. Just to clarify, the Waste MIR will be published at the end of this month. And that's largely because our funder for the MIR is the City of Cape Town. And so much of the focus is on the city's opportunities. In terms of this year's MIR, so 2021 has culminated to a bunch of changes that will unlock opportunities within a number of waste streams. So for this MIR, we focused on three opportunities that we think is most sort of valid for the City of Cape Town. The first is within the organic waste stream. More specifically, we focused on urban organics. So that's your organic component of municipal waste, as well as commercial and industrial organics. We've identified about 600,000 tons a year that's generated, and identified the existing capacity to recycle that or to beneficiate that is only about 300,000 tons. So there's still quite a lot of opportunity there. We've also identified wastewater treatment work sludges, as well as post-biogas digestate. These are driven largely by the landfill restrictions for specifically liquid waste. So there's a national ban on liquid waste to landfill, as well as a provincial restrictions of organics to landfill by 100% by 2027. We also see landfill airspace being a massive driver. And then lastly, the focus of the National Waste Management Strategy, putting specific targets for municipalities. These opportunities will likely be unlocked through landfill gate fees, particularly in Cape Town, which are the largest or the highest in South Africa. We also have all of the municipalities in the Western Cape focusing on municipal organic waste diversion plans. There's a great easing of treatment regulations, and then private sector have come to the table and have committed a great deal to food loss and waste, and that's your large brands and retailers. In the plastic space, the opportunities are around virgin replacement and material recovery. This is largely driven through landfill airspace or the lack of, as well as perceived job potential, and obviously global and local plastic sentiments. This is really exciting. This will be unlocked through the extended producer responsibility for plastic packaging, as well as substantial investments into municipal infrastructure, specifically in Cape Town. And then lastly, with private sector commitments to plastic reduction and beneficiation. Lastly, our last focus is on electronic waste, and that's around pre-processing, processing, and recovery opportunities. And this is largely driven through the national e-waste landfill ban, which kicks in August of this year, the perceived job potential, and obviously your precious metal prices. And again, we have an EPR, extended producer responsibility, that came into play this year for the electrical and electronic equipment, as well as for lighting equipment. And then obviously also National Waste Management Strategy is putting a lot of focus on e-waste. And then the last sort of opportunity, which is quite, which we'll touch on a little bit later, but is municipal contracts. So there's a massive amount of investment going into infrastructure for Cape Town to recover material. And so the opportunity really is around the procurement or the service offering of the private sector. So yeah, great opportunity.
Thank you, Sam, and we'll hand over to Yasin for some biogas insights.
Thanks so much, Sam and Salim. It was mentioned by the energy team in terms of the energy security issue currently facing our country, as well as from Sam with regards to the landfill waste bans that are coming into place for organic waste. Biogas technologies and other bioenergy technologies serve as a key sort of opportunity for implementing circular economy models, particularly to the private sector for businesses that are stressed in terms of managing their organic waste and reducing the organic waste cost, as well as securing energy security through biogas production, as well as reducing the energy demand from the national grid, so to speak. So ideally, biogas opportunities sit within these sort of circular economy closed loop models within the private sector, but it can also assist the public sector in terms of the municipality, in terms of reducing the load of organic waste currently going to landfills and absorbing some of that diversion from landfills, so to speak. Biogas technologies can also assist wastewater treatment works in terms of developing biogas from their sludges as well as their primary sludges to reduce the parasitic loads. And it's all about working in conjunction between private and public sector. So most of those opportunities sit within circular economy model types. And we hope to sort of encourage those sort of models in future so that we can sort of develop a pipeline of opportunities within the bioenergy and biogas sectors. Thank you, Salim.
Thank you, Yasin. And like your previous panelists, I'd like to ask each of you a quick question. Starting with Sam, of all the sectors researched, which do you see has the best potential?
Yeah, so I think ultimately it's going to be organic waste. It's pretty much a no-brainer. This is largely because organic waste already is a big cost to businesses, irrespective of landfill bans and restrictions. The city of Cape Town has the highest gate fee for metros in South Africa. And so the more organics that is going to landfill, which is predominantly water, it's going to cost businesses. But we also see in the next couple of years, by 2027, there will be a restriction of 100% of organic waste to landfill. So irrespective of the price of landfill, you're not going to be able to landfill. So landfill restrictions are really great levers to unlock opportunities. So I think that's where the greatest opportunity is. In terms of the solutions, this is going to be quite quite a contentious space going forward. There's a lot of opportunities within the organic waste space. This is largely with biogas. We have black soldier fly that's gaining a lot of attention. But ultimately, every solution that we have for organic waste will always require a large-scale composting operations. So it's just a matter of, it's almost like with the energy mix, the question now is, what's the organic mix, organic solution mix? And I think that's going to be sort of the tough nut to crack, is gaining how much value can we gain from those organics.
Thank you, Sam. And then Yasin, just the last question. You've mentioned the increased opportunities in the biogas space. Would this be favorable as large-scale or small-scale opportunities?
There are definitely opportunities in both the small to medium-scale sectors as well as the large-scale sector. In terms of the small to medium-scale, the opportunities sit more within the agricultural and agri-processing sector, where agricultural residues are produced, particularly your dairy and poultry and fruit and veg produce production. And then on the larger scale, it's more within the public and municipal support space in terms of wastewater treatment works and helping divert municipal solid waste away from landfills per se. So particularly the organic fraction of municipal solid waste that's going to landfill, as Sam mentioned. So those are the sort of two sectors, or the sectors that sort of influence small to medium and large scale projects. But the average scale size for the future of biogas would be about 500 kilowatt systems across the board, so to speak. Those seem to be the most viable at the moment.
Thank you, gentlemen, for, just again, a big thanks for the hard work that you've put in over the past year in terms of producing this document. But then again, I think I must probably save the last thank you to our funder, the City of Cape Town, namely the Enterprise and Investment Unit, as well as the Solid Waste Management Department, without whose contributions this would not have been possible. And I think from our side, we'd just like to thank you for supporting this and keeping this up. So thank you, panel, and we hand over back to Nick. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. Really interesting to hear what's happening in the circular economy space. I'm also feeling quite chuffed that my joke seems to have been quite relevant. 2027, Mission Compostable, you heard it here first. All right, we're going to move on to the lovely Lisa Johansson, who's just going to be speaking about some of the ecosystem support services for green economy investors. Lisa, over to you.
Thanks, Nick. Hi, I'm the Green Economy Finance and Investment Liaison for both Green Cape and WasteGrow, the tourism, trade and investment promotion agency for the Western Cape. My primary role is to attract and assist green economy investments into the Western Cape, be it international or local investors, as well as businesses looking to expand. My role is a manifestation of the collaboration between Green Cape and WasteGrow, combining the deep sector intelligence on display today with the broader investment promotion ecosystem. This ecosystem includes Invest SA, the South African National Investment Promotion Agency, the Invest SA one-stop shop located in Cape Town CBD. The one-stop shop is an effective collaboration space with 14 government regulators available to fast-track investments and provide regulatory support. The City of Cape Town's Invest Cape Town team is a great example of municipalities driving investment efficiency on various developments, approvals, or locating an investment. And the jewel at the center of the ecosystem is the Atlantis Special Economic Zone. This zone will be the key manufacturing node for green tech products. The Western Cape's financial sector is well regarded, and as the green economy becomes more prominent, this financial muscle will allow the region to be responsive to emerging opportunities like green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is an area the team is investigating in depth as an opportunity for the city and the Western Cape. Since Green Cape's inception in 2010, Green Cape and its partners have facilitated approximately 42 billion Rand investments into the green economy in the Western Cape, creating over 19,000 jobs. It's a privilege to be a part of the ecosystem that will ultimately drive Cape Town and the Western Cape to take up the role as the green economic hub of the African continent. A huge thank you to the authors of the respective market intelligence reports. If you are an investor interested in these opportunities, please do reach out to me as your first port of call. I'll be able to draw on the combined institutional capability of Waste MIR and Green Cape to provide guidance and supports, particularly in these target green sectors. Thank you. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks very much, Lisa. I appreciate your words. I think it's really exciting, firstly, to see all of these opportunities that have emerged in these various sectors, but also to be aware of the amazing innovation that we've been exposed to, and then to couple that with the really strong support that is on offer. And we do encourage all of the participants to reach out to the various support that's on offer as you need it. And just on that note, I want to say that we are keeping a record of the various questions that are being posted into the Q&A, and we will attend to those in due course. I'm now going to hand over to our CEO, Mike Mulcahy, who is just going to do a closing and thank you. Mike, over to you.
Thanks very much, Nick. Yeah, a massive thank you to everybody that joined us here today. It's a really wonderful opportunity to showcase some of the opportunities that are emerging in the green economy in the city of Cape Town and Western Cape. I want to thank particularly Minister Mania for his opening remarks this morning, as well as the Department of Economic Development and Tourism for the support they provide us for publishing these market intelligence reports. I also wanted to thank the Department of Agriculture for supporting the Sustainable Agri Market Intelligence Report, and the City of Cape Town's Enterprise and Investment Department for supporting the Waste Market Intelligence Report. I also wanted to thank Waste MIR and particularly Lisa and the Invest Cape Town team for creating this joined-up ecosystem to promote investments in the green economy in the Western Cape. I think globally, there's a massive trend towards the green economy, to understanding the opportunities that this green economy can create for South Africa and for the world. And I think it'll take all of us pretty much doing our absolute best to be able to meet some of the aggressive carbon targets that have been set for 2050. So I know we're just about bang on time, and to say thank you so much. Please do reach out to the teams if you have any questions, and we look forward to you investing further into Cape Town and the Western Cape. Thanks. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks very much, Mike. Thank you to all of our participants today. We really are glad to have had you online. We will be making this presentation available on our YouTube channel. Please do visit our website to access the reports which are online. Thank you very much to everyone.